Like any disposable stake on the market, the weak link has always been, in my opinion and a lot of other people's opinion, is the type of driver available. And I've literally gone through probably a dozen different drivers in the last few years and had people send me some stuff. And not all of them are some of the high quality ones you see advertised on in some of the trapping forums and stuff. There's some real high quality stuff out there, no doubt. I haven't tried them all by any means. But a friend of mine is a machinist and a welder in Minnesota, and him and I sat down a few years ago and designed a new driver. We call them the Montana line driver, kind of a catchy name we come up with a good solid handle, gussets on it, a tool steel shaft. We make them in two different kinds to fit what I use. Basically, this has got the slots for the wolf fang. We also sell one for the super stake, the bullet stake, like the Fox Hollow type we also use. These wolf fangs I think retail for around $44 or $45 a hundred. You can make them with your own, or you can buy them put up like these. Somebody else, lots of people sell them. But the key is, with all this stuff, is to have something that'll last. And to be honest with you, I bought a lot of drivers that had a nut on top and they used different things, and those broke over time. We designed these with a solid handle, and to be honest with you, this is pounding a lot of stakes, and it's just getting cupped out on top here. And when I get done here, maybe through the season, we'll have to put a couple beads of weld down the top to kind of reinforce it and build it back up, or maybe put a big puddle of weld right there. And I expect that's all I'm going to have to do to it. We had to precision mill the ends of the driver to fit the wolf fang stake. And this particular driver won't fit some of the other variations because they, in my opinion, they made the slot too small. So what I'm saying is you have to have a driver compatible and slide on real nice to your point. And like anything else, you have to have take a little bit of precautions and make sure it's maintained. Make sure that there's no burrs on the end or anything else, and everything's still nice and sharp, so the point goes on. And otherwise, if you drive it in the ground and there's a burr or something, or a place where there's been a notch, drove in through a rock or whatever, and you get some bad lumps on or humps in it, it might catch on the driver and it won't come out. So you got to maintain it, just like oiling your gun or cleaning anything else off, or your fishing pole or whatever. You got to maintain this stuff, because you got to remember, this is going right in the ground. This is probably going in the ground about 16 inches, and who knows what it's going to encounter down there. So what I'm telling you is, every 2 or 3 stakes, kind of look it over. I carry a file right in my bag in my pickup. I always have one in my pocket or at my shop. Take my grinder out once in a while, or take it to the bench grinder and kind of on the wire wheel, just kind of hone it up a little bit and keep it well maintained, and it'll last you a long time. And I think, in honesty, of all the ones I've seen in the market nowadays, I think the wolf fang with this combination of Montana line driver is the best I've seen. Okay, the first thing I do is just to make sure that I'm going to be able to get an earth anchor in here or a stake, I try to stake the trap down first, because you wouldn't want to use waxed dirt here and waste a bunch of time making this trap bed and then find out you can't get a stake in. So give me about 10 seconds here and I'll get this stake in place. Okay, I always drive it in below ground level, 3 or 4 inches if I can, just to make sure that when I pull up on it, let's say it pulls up just a little bit, maybe a little dirt got caught in that slot. I always drive it in plenty. And then also when I pull up on the trap, it's going to set that point in the ground. It gives a few inches to do that usually. So usually my swivel is still below ground level, and that's kind of important. And I made these drivers fairly long so you can put your hammer underneath it to achieve pulling them out easier. I see a few on the market that are pretty short in my opinion, and what I do is usually twist a little bit, hit this a couple times, pull back out just like that. And by doing that with a hammer, saves you getting down there and trying to pull up and down a reef up and down. So I made them just a little bit longer, just through experience. Okay, usually what I do is put in about a quarter or a half inch of the wax dirt in the bottom of the bed, and then I take my hammer and I really pound it in there, especially in that cross piece. And that makes a really, really waterproof barrier, in my opinion, of all that wax dirt just pounded in there like that. And all I gotta do is tap it in, and when you get done, your trap bed will be perfectly shaped still, but have that extra little bit of wax dirt on the bottom of the bed that keeps that dirt from leaching out. And you don't have to overdo this. This takes a few seconds, but I do think in the long run that does pay off. I still use a screen pan cover. I know other places in the video you'll see I just use a screen with no notch. This one I took the extra 3 seconds and cut a notch in it about maybe an inch or inch and a quarter deep on this one. And I just simply pull the free jaw up and tuck the screen under the jaw. So when I put it in the ground, this screen here and this tip of the screen and here will be under the jaws. Just a little more weatherproof type of deal. It won't be touching the ground. Plus with all that nice wax dirt, and you can just use dry dirt if you want. That'll make that more weatherproof, low maintenance. That's what I always strive for, is less maintenance in all my coyote trapping. And this is just a great combination. With that screen here again, basically anything inside the jaw of the traps, the trap, the coyote or whatever, bobcat, fox, anything that steps in that jaw will make the trap go off usually, because anywhere they step, that increased pan size with that stiff steel screen will increase it. And this has been something that's been going on for basically 35, 40 years with this dogless type trap that just has not been improved on, in my opinion. One of the items I use more and more in conjunction with bones at flat sets is these little honey lure holders. And there's lots of variations. Guys are making them with felt, they're making them with wool, they're making them all kinds of stuff. These are some a friend of mine's been making for years. He makes them for us too. I love them. And just so you know, basically the head of that right there is what's going to be sticking out of the ground. And that's a simulated M44, a sodium cyanide gun head that we use for predator control purposes, mainly here in the West, I think. That's simulating that. And what the deal is with that, it's also a place to hold lure, but it's also a sight attractor for the coyote to want to lick and grab and actually pull that out of the ground. And by using this kind of stuff, and you can use bones too, no problem, it actually makes the animal, the coyote, canine, coyote or fox, stand there, maybe move their foot around a little bit more, increase those catches, but also you can dictate where they're going to have to step more. I want them to focus in on this and say, I'm going to pull that out of the ground. We're going to put an attractive lure on here that's made specifically for this type of stuff. And what we're trying to do is capitalize on that grab and pull response. We don't want them to roll on this. We don't want them to come up and pee on it. We don't want them to come up and which they do at times, to be honest with you, but we don't want them to come up and smell it from 3 foot away and satisfy their curiosity. We want to actually make them walk into here and try to grab this, just like we do any other flat set. By using what we're doing here right now with this set, with this setback, and having these natural guides right here in this back end, we're just making the thing even that much more effective. We're getting the best of both worlds of a flat set they're going to want to grab, and a walkthrough and a setback. Are you on? Okay, sorry about that, Eric. Okay, now in cold weather, frozen ground, wet conditions, you can take a punch and punch a hole in right here, a couple 3 or 4 inches deep for a pilot hole. But since it's still early enough in the year, we have snow, but it's not frozen ground, I simply just take my hammer and drive this in the ground, flush, and I leave a little bit of this grass around here. I want them to have to find that. They're going to smell it. I want that in the ground just like that. You can tilt it out a little bit towards the trap if you want to make it even more attractive for them to want to come in and grab it. And right now we're back about 10-12 inches. But what I'm doing is, and we're going to illustrate this a little more, is I'm using the backing they're not going to want to walk on. This sharp stuff out here they're not going to want to walk on very bad. And this tall grass out here, they're not going to fight that. To get to this attractor we're going to put on here, this lure, they're going to be stepping right out here in front. If you guys ever heard of Wiley Carroll in Nevada, famous old coyote and cat and lion hunter and stuff, trapper. He gave some of these, or one of these, to a friend of mine named Bill Ilchick of Wild West Bobcats fame, video book. And Bill gave me one of these a few years ago, and man, I'll tell you what, I've been using it. The second he handed me this tool at a convention, I knew exactly what it was for. And I could just see how many uses you could get out of this being a coyote trapper or a cat trapper or whatever. And basically it's a set finisher, we call them. I call them a set leveler. You can make scratch marks, I'll show you. You can make a little divot to put your dropping in if you're using droppings at a set. But the main thing I use it for is leveling off my set rather than taking my glove and swooping it off. And about every day when I'm setting lots of traps, I'm catching my hand at least once or twice. Not a lot, but once in a while I do. And by using something like this, I can do several things at one time with it. It's so simple, you wonder why you didn't think of it yourself. And we call them set finishers. And basically what I do is I just put it underneath the dirt, move everything out with that, smooth it all out where you want everything. Everything is nice and level. And let's say you didn't have this dirt sifted, I could actually go under the ground and push them rocks out ahead of you. Out ahead of it, and get that fine rocks out of there, any big lumps, flick that out of there, get that out without having to actually touch anything. Now this particular set, I've still got this dirt here. I'll just pitch that behind me, and we're going to take this set finisher to blend this stuff in a little better than sitting here with my hand or my glove. Now this particular dirt, this shale that I'm using, doesn't match so good with this sandy soil. And I would never do this late in the season because this top dressing is the stuff that usually freezes. But we're early enough in the season here. I'm just going to use this to kind of blend this in a little bit. And as the day goes on, this will kind of get a little age to it, a little bit of older look to it where a coyote's not going to shy from that anyway. But this little set finisher will do that. And one of the things I really liked about it when I first started using them, throughout the years of coyote trapping and fox trapping, a lot of times you come up and you notice where a canine has avoided a set maybe. A lot of times they don't. I'm sure if a piece of chain, you probably catch a lot of them with a one jaw kind of showing, who knows. But a lot of times I come up and see a muddy footprint over here to the side, and there's part of my chain or maybe part of your pant or your screen cover exposed because of the weather or whatever. And I used to grab the trap out of there and reset it, and I don't anymore. Elsewhere I've showed just flicking dirt, but now I use this little tool to come over here and just scrape up enough stuff to utilize to cover them bare spots up and just less contact with it and nice smooth finish. One thing you can do at the point of this is to make some fake kicks like a dominant coyote, and believe me, it doesn't have to be a female or a male to do this. I've watched my female dog make kicks like that. Just kind of scratch it up, place to put a little pea right there, maybe on this grass or whatever. Make those kick marks, make them think another coyote's been there. Super attractive to bobcats also. I'm using more and more droppings every year too. With our rodent numbers being way down, I don't have any problems using a dropping at a set once in a while. It used to be when I used droppings around here, they were gone the first night. And now I just take my little set finisher here and make a little recessed spot to put a dropping. And you can't say enough good about stuff like that. I carry droppings, I find them, I pick them up, carry them in Ziploc bags. I mean, I let my coyote dogs run ahead of us sometimes on little 2-track roads through pastures and stuff just to get them out and get some exercise. We use them for calling all summer, denning and stuff. They don't get a lot of exercise in the fall all the time. And it's funny when these dogs are running down these trails ahead of us, maybe 50 yards or so, and they got shock collars and stuff. They're trained, they're not going to get in trouble. All of a sudden they just turn a hard 90 degrees and almost point just one single dropping 2 foot off the road. So I pack all these droppings around and utilize them, and use them at sets, places like this. So now, just to recap what I've done here, I've got a reset, a set back, reset back in there, recessed I guess the word is, back into this obstructive grass and unobtainable, unapproachable type place. We're going to put a lure on there. There's various kinds you can use that they're going to want to lick or grab. The trap set out here far enough to utilize or take advantage of this outside blocking on the edges. They're going to come out through here. We got a dropping right here. We got the tall grass back in here, and we just captured the best of all the worlds. We got their intrigue factor, their smell factor, the factor they're going to want to investigate where the other coyotes been, and our landing spot is right here, this nice level spot that we have set with a dogless trap, a screen, and waxed dirt. I cannot tell you of a more effective coyote set than that right there. Now I picked this spot here for various reasons. I like to dig back into root systems like this, grassy places like that, but also because right out in front I have this place, this nice bare spot, which is going to be really, really easy to blend back into natural, okay? We're going to kind of blend this set back in. And a spot like this has outside blocking on the sides, or side blockings we'll call them, and our focal point is going to be a dirt hole way back into here. The trap's actually going to be out here probably 12 to 16 inches in front of the actual set. You don't have to have it right tight up to your attractor, or like the old 10 and 2 inches, and guys are saying 10 inches back, all that. This kind of eliminates all that, I call it guesswork, or a way to let an animal approach a set and not get caught. I like to have my holes way back into something, like way back here in this kind of instance, and I would put it way back in like this, dig out this dirt, dig back this hole like this. Your dirt hole is going to be back there, you're going to have a little bit of dirt pulled out in front, but your trap is going to be blended way out here in front, okay? And like I say, we're utilizing this natural blocking here. We'll put an outside blocking there. It's a nice level, fast approach, effective way to catch coyotes.